What is the purpose of your visit tonight? Is this sort of a dual purpose visit?
Well, we're here to promote our new film, The National Parks, America's Best Idea, which will be broadcast on PBS in September. But we've also wanted to go around to various communities that have parks and try to re-remind them of the extraordinary value of these treasures that we have, to tell them a little bit about this history that we made. And it is a history of, for the first time in human history, land was set aside for everybody, not for kings or noblemen. So that's an American invention. And to share with folks some clips and to have a conversation about the national parks. The writer and historian Wallace Stegner said they were America's best idea. That's the subtitle of our film, and we agree.
What clips will people be seeing here today?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've been on the road for weeks and weeks and weeks, and will be till September. And I've been mainly showing historical clips, you know, Teddy Roosevelt and John Muir and some of the many unknown people who founded the parks. But what was so surprising to us is that throughout our series, the people that we would interview would help us understand how this park came to being or this issue was resolved. But then they'd start telling their own personal stories. And what I did is I sort of put together a little bit of a reel of just some of these intensely personal stuff. For almost anyone who has a relationship with a national park, they know that moment when that park woke them up. It just reminded them of something bigger than themselves, something outside their own lives, something that interrupted the momentum of and the distractions, the noise of their own life, the music of their lives. And that's a great thing, and what better purpose for the parks to do? The fact that the park idea has evolved and it isn't just spectacular scenery like here in Shenandoah or Yosemite or Yellowstone, but we now have historic battlefields that commemorate our greatest sacrifices. The Statue of Liberty is part of the Park Service now, our highest ideals. We've even got places of shame, slave cabins, Manzanar where Japanese Americans were interned, Shanksville, PA where the Flight 93 went down, Oklahoma City, the biggest act of terrorism, Little Rock Central High School, still a working high school, but a national park site, Park Service site as well, with the idea that a great country can acknowledge the mistakes it's made and be better. I mean, it just proves our greatness and proves what Abraham Lincoln said, that this is the last best hope of earth.
How long did the series take to make?
Well, we decided to do it 10 years ago. And it took a long time to raise the money and get our ducks in a row and figure out how we were going to configure it. And then we've been shooting for 6 years and editing for more than a couple. So it's been a long time. And there hasn't been a moment when our interest has waned or diminished. In fact, it's increased. And we're still not filming anymore. We're not filming anymore, but we're still going to parks.
What was it about national parks that made you want to spend 10 years telling the story? Because that may not seem like a no-brainer to some people.
Yeah, well, I think it's a uniquely American institution. We've covered the Civil War, we covered baseball, we covered jazz, we covered a lot of important American people. These are places that are hugely important to who we are as a people. When it's the first thing, when you invent something, a national park, never happened before in human history. Anytime a piece of land was saved, it was for some rich person or a king. That's it. And we said, no, 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 for everybody. This is the Declaration of Independence applied to the landscape. That's news. That's Stop the Presses. Now, we may not be aware of it. We get blasé. We've got our Twitters. We've got our internet. We got our, video games. But in the end, the only way we learn about ourselves is to go out. In order to go in, John Muir, the great wilderness prophet, said, you have to go out. And the best place to go out in this country is a national park.
What did you find was the most interesting aspect of Shenandoah National Park?
Well, for me, it's a personal one. In 1959, when I was 6 years old, my father took me, a father who hadn't been pretty present, took me on a weekend trip to Shenandoah. And I can remember, it's on my hard drive. I can remember that like it happened yesterday. I know what I was wearing. I know the feel of his hand in mine. I know what it was like to hike what I thought was impossibly long things, probably half a mile, down to a waterfall. We turned over logs and caught salamanders, watched a black snake, thought we saw a bear, did see deer, drove through tunnels. Stuff I'll never forget. And I've now taken my daughters and done the same thing. So part of the story of the national parks is time, immense time. It takes the Colorado River's been carving that canyon, the Grand Canyon, for 1.7 billion years old. That's what the rock exposed at the bottom of the canyon is. that makes us feel insignificant. But it's also an intimate time as we pass our love of these places, the love of country. I mean, when we say, my country 'tis of thee, we're not talking about industrial trade output. We're talking about the land. When he said the last best hope of earth, Lincoln didn't mean factories, subdivisions. He meant these places.
What do you hope, if there's one thing people take away from this, what do you hope the ultimate outcome is?
A burning desire to go visit their national parks. Look, you and I own the most spectacular scenery on earth. All you need to do is go visit it once in a while, take care of it, and put it in your will for your children. What a great bargain that is.
And this is, of course, I have to ask this because I'm a huge Simpsons fan. That wasn't your voice in The Simpsons.
No, and I told James Brooks when I met him that the thing that hurt me more than anything else, that he didn't use my voice as the spoof in The Simpsons. I mean, it was one of the better spoofs that's ever happened. It gave me a lot of cred with my kids and lots of other people, but to have not been a chance to make a fool of myself with my own voice, and that they had to go to some actor, was an insult that I can't actually take.
Well, will you give him a chance to redeem himself, maybe?
Well, if he would be willing to dub it, overdub over that lousy actor that doesn't sound anything like me, I would be happy to comply, but I don't think it's in the cards.
Okay.